Hey there, this is Kevin from MaximizingEcommerce.com. I help people start and grow e-commerce businesses. And in this video, we're going to talk about the roadmap, as I see it, to success in e-commerce based on my own experience and what I've found works and for myself and from seeing others. So trying something a little bit different in this video with the webcam, so bear with me if it's a little different than what you're normally used to on this channel. So love to hear your comments down below if you think scrap this, do it different, or whatever. So let's go ahead and get into the presentation. So simplistically, I would say the roadmap to success in e-commerce is a few different steps here. So start with Amazon, doing local sourcing. Then you're going to get your own branded product, and you're going to start your own brand. Then you're going to expand to other channels and marketplaces and build your own store, like on your own website. Then start going international. And you can interchange these. These by no means have to be in any particular order, other than I think the first two, starting with Amazon, doing local sourcing, and then launching your first branded product. Then develop more products, so adding on to your brand, and then rinse and repeat and keep doing the same thing over and over again. So the mindset with all this, I think, is very important, and I think you got to start off by thinking like Arnold. Now you're probably thinking, like, think like Arnold. What does that even mean? Arnold Schwarzenegger, as I'm sure you know who he is, one of the most famous actors of all time, bodybuilder. He came to America from Austria to start his bodybuilding career and then to go into acting. Now, one of the things I heard in a interview on, I think it was the Tim Ferriss podcast, where Arnold was talking about how when he came to, or right before, I think it was before he came to the United States, he read some magazine article. I don't even remember the name of the person who he was talking about, but somebody who was a bodybuilder in Hollywood who went off to do movies and achieved success in both bodybuilding and movies. This is a magazine article. You know, a lot of times people read magazine articles and they just gloss over them. He looked at it and said, this is the exact roadmap I need to follow to be successful. So, didn't have, of course, every little single detail in it, but it had enough he needed to see the vision of how to propel himself forward to achieve his goals. And I think that's very important, and I really like that, and I think it ties in a lot to e-commerce because you never really know everything. You're never going to have everything down. So on that note, progress is going to be very important. Worry about progress more than perfection. My first product, my first branded product, I'll say, I think I've iterated it, made some sort of change with the factory on 4 or 5 different orders. So I did okay to begin with, and I've added on things to make it better over time. And most factories will work with you in that regard. So, and everything I'm giving you here are guidelines. They're not hard, fast rules. It's not like you have to do exactly this. Sometimes you're better off if everyone else is zigging, you zag. The key, I think, more than anything, is the mindset of follow the process. And the process is find products to sell that people want to buy. It really is that simple. And if you can kind of wrap your head around that, everything else are just little tips and tricks and nuggets and things to get you that direction. So hopefully my point A to point B here helps with the analogy. But part of the mindset of all this, I think, is really important, is understanding the seasonal demand in e-commerce. So this little chart right here I'm showing you, you can see the zigzag going up. That is Amazon.com and how they've sold in billions with a B over the last 10 years. So it's going quarter by quarter, and you can see there's a big tick every year as it goes up. That big tick is Christmas time, fourth quarter. A lot of people buying their whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah, or they just like buying stuff that time of year. I mean, people buy lots of stuff. It's a huge boom for the e-commerce business. So one of the things you want to take as a takeaway here is, what can you do to maximize the amount of sales you can make during that time period? And then what you want to do in order to maximize your sales is think of it, and this is more the long-term vision. This isn't like you got to come out of the gate and do all these things. Please make sure you understand that. You want to cast a wide and deep net. Just think of it as like you're fishing. So maybe you start off, you only got like tiny little net. They can only go in and get like a little guppy out of an aquarium, but you want to get to the point of like you got like a big, huge commercial fishing net, where you can catch lots of fish. And fish would be an analogy for the demand that's out there, people buying your product, and that net is how you're catching them. So that's your product listings, where you're listing at. So let's go ahead and get into that vision here. So you want to just start small. Start with wherever you have. So if you've got a small amount of money, great. If you have a large amount of money to invest into it, great. Do with what you're comfortable with. Don't put too much money into it, especially starting out. So start small, and then what you can do is you can go wide by adding more products and more brands. So you got more things you're selling, so that your net is widening in that you're able to sell more products. So that's more fish looking for different products coming into the net. Well, how much of that are you going to sell? Let's call that going deep. So going deep is going to be adding channels. So when you think of Amazon as a channel. Amazon is not a business. Well, they are a business for Amazon, and they allow us to sell on their marketplace. So they're one particular channel. So eBay is a channel. Your own website is a channel. Etsy is a channel. Groupon could be a channel. There's all these different channels of places you can go sell. You could start doing paid advertising to run whether Facebook ads, Google ads, whatever, to maybe your own website or to a listing on, let's say, Amazon. There's all kinds of different strategies there. Now, the key is don't get too caught up in like, oh my God, all these things I got to do. You could go international. I mean, there's all these things you can do, but think of it as you're building up your portfolio slowly but surely with more products and going deeper so that you've got a bigger net, and you don't have to have the hugest net to start off with. You just have to get started. So, let me talk a little bit about why I suggest starting with Amazon. So, Amazon has hundreds of millions. I forget the exact number of credit cards on file. So, all these people can go on Amazon and they can just click a button, and they literally have trademarked the one-click purchase, and they can purchase whatever it is just about whatever they want. I mean, I'm sure you've probably shopped on Amazon and you know that just about anything you're looking for is there. You can just click on it and boom. If you have Prime, within 2 days, in some cases, depending where you live, it might even come that exact day. They just make it so easy, and they don't make it just easy for the consumers. They make it easy for sellers too. I think it's a great place to start. It's something that's very simple. So you want to start with Amazon, sourcing locally. My first products that I sold from Walgreens. So the key is, though, you got to get that first sale in. And I remember hearing about this before I got into e-commerce a couple of years ago, that people would talk about once you get your first sales online, things really start to feel real, and there's a mindset shift. And I got that intuitively, but I didn't really understand it until I actually got my first sale. So, if you've not started in e-commerce, your one next goal here is, you can enjoy the rest of this video, but if you take away one thing, it's to focus on that first sale. So somewhere in here, I'm going to have a link, depending on where you're watching this. But let's just assume the link is down below, where you can go and download, I'm calling it the blueprint. It's absolutely free for how you would get your first sale. I'll show you exactly what I did to get my first sale. Because once you get that first sale, and someone else that you don't know went online and purchased a product that you had for sale, all of a sudden things start to change for you. Like in your mind, and that's why I have the light switch there. It truly is like a switch goes off in your brain. So again, let's talk about my first sale here real quick. So my first sale, it was something I bought on Walgreens. It was this one of those little reusable cooler packs. You put it in the freezer. I bought a couple of those that were on clearance. I made just maybe a couple of dollars on each one I sold, but it really had me thinking wow, I can see this. It wasn't just something hypothetical. And now when I was hearing people talk about e-commerce, I could get the vision, and I was so excited when it happened. I mean, I remember just running into, the living room and showing my wife, hey, you have to see this. You have to see this. It was crazy. So moving along here, Then next you want to create your own brand. So when you create your own brand, what you're going to do is you're going to find things that are not necessarily people have brand affinity to, and I've got a whole bunch of things that I would say are pretty, for lack of a better word, generic. I would say these are things, nothing on this page is something I would recommend you actually go towards, because these are all things you hear people talk about. As far as examples of products that you could sell as a private label. So avoid these, but it's the kind of products that, people don't really say, wow, I really am into XYZ brand, whatever. So that way you're not, competing with the Coca-Cola of whatever brand, like something that people have an affinity to. So get your own product, whether you source it in China or the US or wherever. It doesn't really matter. Just get your own brand going. Then what you're going to do is start selling it on additional channels after you got it up and running on Amazon. There's a variety of different channels you could sell on. Then you want to start expanding internationally. So internationally, I started in the US, and then I went to Canada, and then went to the UK, Germany, and France. Plans to add on some more countries, probably add the rest of Europe before the holiday season this particular year, and probably next year going to Japan, because it's just a good way of, not cannibalizing. Selling, it's a good way of selling more product, because I'm not cannibalizing on my existing sales. So that's one of the really nice things. Then create your own websites and start driving some traffic to it. There's all kinds of different ways of doing it. You want to start off by getting a domain, although I would get the domain pretty early on in your e-commerce career, because you can use it for email. It makes you look more legit if it's, let's say your name is Bob at yourstore.com or whatever your .com name is, and then you can point that .com to something like Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, which runs on WordPress. I personally use Shopify. I highly recommend it. It's one of the most simple out of the box websites to use. It comes with SSL certificate, credit card payments. I mean, everything you need is pretty much ready to go. I mean, there's ways you can make it better, and they've got a whole host of people that have added on apps onto their app store, so I would definitely check it out. So more than anything, if you're thinking about doing this, just enjoy the process. People get too involved in, well, I gotta have everything perfect, I'm gonna watch another video, another blog post to learn about whatever. You learn better when you're comparing what it is your experience tells you with what it is you're learning from someone. So if you haven't started, again, down below, there's gonna be a link to download the cheat sheet. I highly recommend you do so. And more than anything, just run your own race. That's the big key here, is that sometimes, and I'm guilty of this myself, you hear people talk on other podcasts and things of that nature, they talk about, or videos, and they talk about like, oh, I've got 7 figures in sales, I'm doing like $500,000 a month, whatever. I personally am not anywhere near that. I've got decent sales, but not in the 7-figure range, and 6-figure, but not 7. And if you're just starting out, everyone started somewhere. Just run your own race. Don't worry about like, oh, well, this person's so much farther ahead than I am. Well, you don't know what journey they had to get there, or maybe they had some advantages that maybe you don't have. And you know what? Sometimes life just isn't fair. But you know what? By putting one foot in front of the other and moving ahead, step by step, you'll get to where it is you want to go. So that's my biggest advice, my biggest takeaway is, focus on going from one step to the next, and you can get yourself to where it is you want to go. So, and again, don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Just run your own race and keep improving, keep getting better, because when we talk about a roadmap, if you're going from point A to point B, on a map, you'll never get to point B if you're worried at point A and you haven't even left point A yet, of what am I going to do when I get to point B? Are there, there are going to be a lot of people there? Is there going to be a lot of whatever? Am I setting myself up to be at the best spot at point B? But if you never cross the starting line, you'll never even get to point B. And point B really isn't a destination. So unlike if you're running like a 5K race, there's a defined point A and point B, a beginning and an end. But when you start an e-commerce company, there really is no end. It's just point B could take you to point C, and C to D, and then, you know, so on and so forth. And you keep growing, and, you know, like I said, create this, you know, big business that, you know, takes you wide and deep, and keep growing that over time, and think of all the great things that you could do with that. So you'll never get there if you haven't started yet. So if you haven't started, again, down below, download our blueprint, how to get your first sale on Amazon cheat sheet. So I want to leave you with this thought here. So I find that the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. And that was from Thomas Jefferson. And literally, he's on the money. So he definitely did some things right along the way. He, like everyone else, is a, you know, pros and cons to his life, but you know what? He kept moving ahead and kept trying new things, new different things, and lots of people have benefited because of that. So if you found this video helpful, I'd love it if you can click the little thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel. So that way we can let you know when we have more videos like this that come up, as well as, again, download that first sale blueprint, which the link is down below. So more than anything, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and good luck on your e-commerce journey. Thank you for watching.